Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating, how ancient Buddhist texts took a really abstract concept, the mechanics of karma, and made it totally tangible, visible, and deeply relatable. If you've ever wondered how early philosophers explained the cosmic scales of justice to everyday people, well, we're going to unpack that right now.
Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at the invisible form of karma, the heavenly results of good deeds, the terrible consequences of bad ones, a comparative analysis of the two, and finally, what all this ancient wisdom means for us today.
All right, Section 1, the invisible form of karma. Let's talk about planting those cosmic seeds.
You know, every single day, our everyday actions are basically like invisible seeds we're planting in the universe. And this brings up a huge question, one that's honestly haunted human civilization since, well, forever. What actually happens after we die? And how is justice ultimately served? It's a completely universal anxiety, right? We look around the world and see good people suffering, bad people prospering. So how does the math actually work out? Well, the concept of karma is ancient philosophy's profound attempt to answer that exact anxiety. It's basically assuring us that yes, absolute justice does exist, even if we can't see it right away. To answer this, Gautama Buddha said, "With my divine eye, I saw beings passing away and reappearing, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, in accordance with their karma." Now, this idea of a divine eye is absolutely crucial here. It's essentially the foundational lens for the text we're looking at today. It lets us see the normally invisible, behind-the-scenes machinery of karma with crystal clarity. Just to ground us historically for a second, around 300 BCE, during the Mauryan period, these stories weren't just idle campfire tales. They were formally compiled and written down. Why? Well, as Buddhism was expanding institutionally, society really needed a strong, accessible moral foundation. They needed stories that could take these massive, lofty philosophical concepts and translate them into something the average person could actually visualize and understand. So let's meet our first text, the Vimananavatu. This literally translates to the stories of divine mansions. It's this wonderfully uplifting collection of 83 poetic tales. In these stories, the Buddhist chief disciple, a monk with extraordinary powers named Mahamoggallana, travels to the heavenly realms. There he actually chats with these radiant deities who are living it up, enjoying spectacular divine rewards purely because of their earthly generosity and good deeds. But, every coin has two sides, right? The universe requires balance. So our second text is the Petavatu, or Stories of the Departed or Ghosts. This one is, well, it's a much darker collection of 51 grim tales. It serves as a visceral, bone-chilling warning against bad karma. It specifically highlights the absolutely horrifying afterlife consequences of things like earthly greed, violence, and miserliness. Moving on to Section 2, Heavenly Results of Good Karma. Let's look at the Vimanavapu's tales. There's this brilliant, deeply moving story where Mahamoggallana is wandering around the heavens and runs into a spectacularly glowing deity. Naturally, he asks, "Hey, what incredible act of merit earned you all this luxury?" And the deity humbly replies that back in their human life, they were incredibly poor. Literally, all they did was donate a single tiny thread to help sew a monk's robe. That's it. But that tiny, selfless donation blossomed into unimaginable wealth. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive return you get on a pure-hearted investment. That single thread didn't just get them like a nice little room in heaven. The divine mansion awarded to this deity was an astonishing 120 kilometers wide. We're talking crystal palaces, beautiful gardens, eternal joy. It really shows that karma acts as the ultimate multiplier. So what's the real philosophical takeaway here? Well, it's that the purity of intention, which the text calls cetana, behind a gift is way, way more important than its actual material value. It's not about the dollar amount or the size or the prestige of your donation. It is entirely about the depth of respect and the selflessness in your heart when you give it. Basically, a single thread given with a pure heart totally outweighs a mountain of gold given just to boost your ego. Okay, Section 3, Terrible Consequences of Bad Karma. Time for the Petavatu's warnings. Brace yourselves for this one, guys, because the imagery in these texts was explicitly designed to shock people into an ethical awakening. The text tells the truly chilling story of a very wealthy but deeply miserly merchant. In his human life, he absolutely despised charity, hoarded his massive wealth, and treated wandering monks with absolute contempt. The consequence? Well, upon death, his greed bound him to a tormented afterlife. He was reborn in the ghost realm as an emaciated, starving spirit, tragically forced to consume his own bodily waste just to try and quench a thirst that could never, ever be satisfied. Yikes.
But hey, there is hope, and it comes through a truly revolutionary and compassionate concept called patidana, or the transfer of merit. Here's the playbook. The living can actually rescue the dead. If relatives perform a good deed, like, say, donating food to the community, and then intentionally dedicate that spiritual merit to the departed ghost, the ghost can instantly be freed from their suffering and transformed into a radiant being. It teaches us that the living and the dead remain deeply, fundamentally connected through ethical action.
Next up, Section 4, Comparative Analysis of Karma. Let's evaluate these two paths. Now, what's really interesting here is how starkly this paints the universe's system of cause and effect when we put these paths side by side. On one side, we had the Vimanavathos version of good karma. Charity and ethical living lead to heavenly realms, profound mental peace, and eventually progress toward ultimate liberation, or nirvana. But on the flip side, the Paitavathos bad karma shows that greed, violence, and falsehood lead straight to the ghost realms and eternal suffering, where you're completely reliant on transferred merit from the living. It's a pretty perfect symmetrical contrast.
Finally, Section 5, Philosophical Lessons for Today, Taking Ancient Wisdom into Modern Life. Now, even though these texts were put together over 2,000 years ago, they definitely aren't just spooky stories or fanciful fairy tales. They're actually incredibly relevant tools for modern psychology and human behavior. They teach us that intention is the true measure of our actions. They remind us that the ghost realm of insatiable hunger isn't some sci-fi dimension. I mean, it perfectly mirrors the endless consumerism and hoarding we see in our own society today, doesn't it? But most importantly, they show us that ethical living brings profound inner peace right now. We literally always have the power to change our life's trajectory through simple good deeds.
I want to leave you with this beautifully grounded thought. Charity and merit bring mental peace and prosperity not just in the afterlife, but in this very human life. You see, the ultimate goal of compiling these ancient texts was never just to scare people about the afterlife or make them blindly chase heaven. It was always about encouraging a moral, grounded, and deeply fulfilling human experience right here, right now. Which brings us to one final, powerful question for you to reflect on. Are your daily actions building a divine mansion, or are they binding you to suffering? Take a second to really think about the seeds you're planting today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.